Hello, everybody, and welcome to Therapy Games channel. It's Nasty Poets talking to you today, and I wanted to talk to you today about directions and the different directions we go. Forewarning, I'm going to be talking about some vivid and uh, just some serious shit. So, trigger warning or whatever you want to put on this. Um, but this has really been the past 4 months of me working. Well, more than 4 months, but I mean, it's just this time every year, the past 4 months, the end of the proverbial school year and the direction that people go. And like, everybody's like scared, man. Everybody is so scared right now. Their parents are scared for them. They're scared for themselves, their families. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to communicate. It's like a shit show all around. And it's not one, two, three, four people. It's like I got adults like this, I got kids like this, all different age groups. And it's like it's why I tell my clients that I redo the new year and it's not January to December, but I follow more of the fiscal like school year. Like let's say August is December because this is where all the shit happens. Like the kids that expected to freaking die before they graduated high school that are now going to college, that was a shit show for some of them because they had plans on what they wanted to be, but no idea how to achieve any of those goals or even how to live life past high school. They don't realize that not much changes. 16, 17, 18, everybody freaks the fuck out because they think they're going in different directions, but not much changes. When you get to your 30s, your back fucking hurts. That's a different direction. But in your younger ages, it's weird because not a lot changes. And everyone's scared and they run away. And what I mean by run away is they react how they normally wouldn't react. I think back to some people that I've worked with over the years. And I mean, I'm not even going to go recently. I mean, I feel like an idiot for never noticing this cycle up until maybe like 2 years ago when I started working, specifically doing in home with this one kid. And they were a senior in high school and they didn't know where they wanted to go. And sitting there in their parents' living room, and I just looked at them dead in the face. I was like, "Did you expect to even graduate high school?" And they looked at me and they just started crying. And this is somebody that showed no emotion. I don't want to say like Asperger's, but borderline Asperger's spectrum, where they had some missed social cues, but some emotional intelligence. It was a really kind of interesting person. And that's where I started developing like this weird thing, social skill thing. But that's another video for another time. Anyway, this kid just started freaking crying up a storm. And I felt bad, but I realized that if I wasn't put in the house or the BA wasn't put in the house or the meds weren't started or the parent didn't catch the flags or the chain of events that led to that day didn't happen, that kid would have killed himself prior to graduating high school. And at that point, we're talking May of his senior year, their senior year. Um, yeah, fucking scared shitless. I had a plan for college. I told everybody I'm just going to go to the county college. Applied everything, took all the steps, did what they had to do. But it's a lot different because you could tell people you're going to do shit. It doesn't mean you actually do it or think you were going to do it or even believed it. Do you know how many times I told people I would do things and never fucking showed up or canceled before that? I guarantee you half the fucking people listening to this shit are shaking their heads yes right now. Because we fucking do it all the time to people where we say we're going to do something and we say we're going to show up and we just never show up. Anyway, this kid had the direction that basically everything stopped. And if they made it past high school, right, there was a blank period of time. And this is almost the therapeutic black hole, 18 to 22, 23. Because, like, at that stage, it's like, are you an adolescent or are you an adult? Because you're showing characteristics about both. You have kids that are bratty, entitled, and all that stuff, but yet require their parents to do shit for them that they're more than capable of doing. Individuals that literally can design rockets but refuse to do laundry in certain scenarios because they don't want to. They can. How the hell are you going to go to school to do something crazy like that, but you don't know how to do laundry? It's a choice. And it's like the direction, it's like, that's a tangent for another day. So, when we're doing these things, we make those choices and we have to commit to them. So, when we're in those black hole periods, we're scared. I think people have more suicidal thoughts. I mean, again, people wanted to die before they fucking leave high school. Imagine that. Now you're in the period where, why am I alive? And then one little thing goes wrong and snowballs, because let's be honest, everybody fucking knows that when shit goes wrong, it snowballs really, really, really much. It's really bad. So as things start snowballing, like the depression just kicks in more. And the thought comes back. And I think that a lot of people right now are feeling that, especially, I mean, this right now, I mean, it's August 9th, 2019. How many people do you think are right now struggling because they're scared? They weren't supposed to live. They're supposed to be dead. It's sad because it's like, how do you tell them that life didn't start yet? How do you tell them that they still have time and they're still a kid and that's okay? And it's okay to be scared because they don't listen. They think they're telling you what they want to hear. A lot of the times when people, you feel like people are telling you what you want to hear, you know what I mean? Sometimes take a step back and ask yourself, is that a normal life thing? I don't know. It's a possibility that it is. It's a possibility when people are telling you just to give it time and wait and experience the next step just for a little bit, that it's not going to be as bad. It's not as bad, but it's scary as shit. Some of these kids that I work with that are transitioning to college right now, they went to school with the same people for the past 12 years, growing up in little parts of different areas. I'm not going to say what states, but parts of the state, and like these little cusps, and they know the same people for most of their lives, and yet they're fucking scared because these people are gone to them. Whether they take choices that they're living at home or they're living away, everybody's splitting apart and everybody's scared. When you're entering this phase of life, it's not a kid that's scared, it's not a parent that's scared, everyone's scared. And if you think it's just with high school to college, graduate from college and look at the job market and tell me that people aren't scared to death. there's there's some kids out there that are like bam and go get a job. I went out there and bam, I got a job. I did not even think that they should have let me graduate at college. I thought it was a joke that I got through college. Still do sometimes. And that's okay. Because guess what? At the end of the day, I have the piece of paper that said I fucking graduated. So it didn't matter that I felt like I didn't do everything. For all those kids that were like graduating high school and they didn't feel like they put in enough effort or this or that, at the end of the day, nobody fucking looked at how much effort they put in. That effort is gone. They have a piece of paper saying that guess what? It's done. And that's one thing they got to realize is that goal was accomplished and they feel that they failed, but they didn't. They accomplished it. High school, I did it go all right, and I feel like I deserve to graduate high school. College, hell no, definitely not. I don't think it was until grad school that I actually realized that, oh my God, I actually know shit in the world, and that there are some stupid people out there that are, just if you treat people good and you have a positive direction in your life and you just try to guide people along that direction, you will be successful. You really will be. If you're working with a family and you're selling real estate and you're bringing it to them and you're showing them a property and you discuss the pros and cons of the property, and if you shoot them straight and transparent and they trust you, guess what? You will be successful. They will stick with you. They fucks with you. If you hide shit, hide feelings, hide emotions and shit, that's when everything starts snowballing. I think what kids got to learn nowadays is just, I'm saying kids, screw it. I think what people have to learn nowadays is, myself included, patience is a virtue. And if we can't learn patience, we're in a scary place. Scary, scary place. Because the next steps aren't bad and they lead to those future goals. For the person that just wants to hold a baby, their own baby, not their friend's baby, they'll get that goal if they're patient. They get it the right way. And you set steps. All right. So the fear with the next steps. Let's talk about direction for a second. Let's talk about transitioning from uh, let's say, child to middle school. If you take somebody fourth and fifth grade and start transitioning them to sixth grade, the biggest fears that come around this time right now and anxiety is related to body image. Girls in middle school, they cover up that area. Girls know the area, that belt buckle and below area in their belly area. They cover that up. Boys start comparing themselves physically to other people. They feel they're not physically fit enough. Yet, meanwhile, everybody has almost the same insecurities, and maybe there's only two or three kids in the school that have that body they're striving for. And God only knows what they did to do there. I used to play baseball with a kid in the middle of heat waves in the summer, 100-degree heat waves. He's out there taking ground balls at shortstop practicing baseball. If it's 100 degrees outside, it's 110 on a baseball diamond. You know, dead sun, dead 12, 1 o'clock. I signed up for Little League. It had to be 12 or 1 o'clock when I signed up for Little League. Kids out there taking ground balls. All right, yeah, he's that good. That does never mean success though. I think another aspect that has to be discussed when we're talking about directions is how do we get kids to understand that it's okay to feel like a failure and be moving forward. Everybody fucks up. I fucked up, you fucked up. But you have to understand that just when you fucked up, it doesn't mean that you're a failure at something. And it leads to success, it leads to transition. And I think when we learn about leading ourselves to transition, we follow our direction that we're going instead. If if we're in a scenario where we're worried about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and yet we stay at a general direction and we move forward, all right, we're still maintaining the same amount of anxiety. However, we're still on a path moving forward. If I have anxiety at a 7 in high school and I attend college and I have an anxiety at a 7 and I'm attending classes at college with an anxiety at 7 and I'm doing the work with an anxiety at 7 and I'm at college, well, guess what? You're fucking doing it and you can't sell yourself short. And that's what I feel like is happening right now with a lot of these people I'm working with is individuals sell themselves shorts right now. I could have been doing this, I could have done this, I could have been here, I could have been there. But you're not. You're here. Hopefully listening to this, but you're only where you're supposed to be right now. And I think that's part of the lesson that people have to learn when they're choosing directions of life is that at times what we think we want and where we are and where we think we should be are completely different. If I looked back at my life, who knows? I'm 38. Who knows where I would have been? 37. Sorry, jumping a year. Who knows where I would have been? I can't even tell you what my goals were anymore because of how much things change. And I don't even mean changing on a lifespan. But at this point in my life, there's things that change and directions that change daily. When I was a kid, it was just making a choice of a major. And then I realized that if I didn't like that major, I could just do something else. I changed my major. I was the youngest kid, one of the youngest kids in my grad school program. I was amazing. I thought I'd be like old. I thought everybody in the program would be like 24, 23, 22. There's a couple, very few. Most of them were people changing careers later in life because they gave this or that a try and they decided that they wanted to do counseling instead. That was just my choice because my field. But I guarantee you, any major you walk into, you will find those individuals who decided to change their life. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with changing life. Girls change hair when they want to do something different. They change clothes styles. I know kids that put piercings in their body for change, to feel different, to feel something, to not feel numb, to not be scared, to not worry because they feel like they're going in the wrong direction. But yet, most of the time, they really are going where they're supposed to be going. It's just they're scared as shit. The hardest thing in life to do is to realize that once you start going places and doing things, that it starts becoming a chain reaction. I suffered from anxiety, and guess what? I still have it. Take meds, you still have it. It's just you handle it better. You learn to handle it. I'm not advocating for people to be on meds or not on meds. I'm not advocating that at all. That is your choice. I have my opinion, you have your opinion, and I respect both, whatever they are. But my point of the matter is that whether you're on meds or not, you still learn to tolerate and handle anxiety. And you have to focus on how you keep that anxiety in the middle and how you find balance and even. Be the scale, stay 50-50. Those are your odds in life. You want to be a millionaire? 50-50. Just define it. And if you want to be a jerk and say with the negatives, fine. I will sit here and any negative you say, then I'll tell you that means 50% for the complete positive. If you want to say something scary, I could tell you 50%, then Colonel Sanders comes through that window and offers you a bucket of chicken. 50-50. And it's the direction of life we choose, and it's what we focus on when we're in those directions. If we continue to focus on moving forward and we could see both sides of the coin, then it's not that bad. Yeah, we could fail that class, but we could also ace that class and meet the love of our life or our best friend or somebody that tells us the funniest joke or teaches us the importance of riddles. I worked with a client one time and he looked me dead in the face and said, "How come my mom didn't bring me to you when I was a kid?" I didn't even have a clinical license then. But man, did I feel good. It wasn't meant to time. He wasn't in that direction. He wouldn't have talked. He wasn't moving on the path he was. And I think that's what's important is that when we're following directions, we move on the path. Because as good as that felt, it also made me feel bad. Am I helping enough? But I stay on my path. I stay helping. I could give up because I feel like I don't do enough good. I could give up and I feel like I do bad. But if I stay on my path that I feel is the most successful, then I should be okay. And isn't that what, at the end of the day, for everybody that's listening to that, isn't that what we ultimately want? Is just to be okay? We want to buy nice things. We want to be financially okay. We want our house to be okay. I know people that said prior to certain situations, like, I want like a $50,000 ring on my finger. And then one thing changes, and you know what? I just want that person with me. And like I teared up in session when they said that because it's the direction that changes and it's like the priority is like we all want these extravagant things, but we know to ourselves that we'll be just happy with being okay in life. And what you got to understand is that if you work with your people and you follow your supports, you will be okay. It turns out that way. A majority of the people are okay. You just have to trust processes at time and trust your direction and realize that if you're in a place and you get accepted to a place, you deserve to be there. If you're sitting there and you're going to a college and you're questioning your college, you deserve to be at that college. You got in. I didn't get in for you. You got in. You did that shit all by yourself. And I think that people need to start learning that in life that like, they have to start acknowledging their worth. I think the next part about direction I want to talk about is the people that come and go. And this is the hardest because who was our rock that we felt one day, we may not feel like it's our rock another day. And again, it's because we feel like directions change. But that doesn't always mean that's what's going on. Like your rock is your rock. And I think people are scared of that. I think people are scared that when certain things change in life that their rocks change, but that's not always the case. You got to realize that as you change, you develop new people as well, and it's not that you have a rock, but you have a quarry, and then you have a small mountain. And that's what you do in life is you just build up your rocks. You don't get rid of rocks, you follow down your path and you accept their path and you try to cross paths and you collect rocks. So I had this client teach me about the healing powers of crystals, and now I collect rocks. And that's what I'm telling everybody in this video to do when it comes to your supports and you're going in directions at life is you collect rocks. That person that you were friends with that maybe go in a different direction, you find a way to continue to be each other's rock. Even if you guys barely see or talk, you're still rocks. And that person goes and does something different and you do something different. And then you know what? I hate to say it, but if one of you needs something, you got each other because you're still each other's rocks. You see each other at the 5 year reunion, the 10-year reunion, or whatever it may be, however they do that stuff. They're all at local bars nowadays. And you do all that stuff, and you continue to be supports for each other, and you continue to care for each other, and you continue to love each other. That's a rock. And the funniest thing is that you don't need your rock right next to you sometimes, and that's scary. I think that's one of the scariest things that people accept as they transition and change in life and go different directions. Because that kid that was going to die that lived through school, now they were understanding that their rocks were going to be there. Now if things change in directions, go different ways, now they're afraid that they lost their rocks, but they're still fucking there. The only thing that changes and leaves our lives are the things that we push away because we're scared of losing. And when we're scared of losing, I think we push too much. When I'm scared in different directions in my life, I push people away. I push my wife away, my kid away, my cat away, my dog away. I get scared and I push away. So I'm not going to assume that people wouldn't do that as well. And one of the things I say is that this brief moment of your life that feels like is an eternity while we're changing directions or looking at different futures and focuses, it's not that long in the grand scheme of things, but damage can be done. So we have to remember that we have to find the balance. We have to find a way to keep the rocks. The supports that we have when they change or with they have changes in themselves and we change, we have to believe that we could still be there for them even if we don't feel like they're there for us as much as they were. Because I know when I went through shit in my life, I pushed people away, but I know I went back to them. And I felt bad because I pushed them away. I felt really bad. But it was things they couldn't help me with or I didn't think they could help me with at the time. So I pushed them away because I didn't want to burden them or whatever my factors were. But that's what we do. And with balance, like I talked about earlier, we have to find that transitional period where we don't push them away to the point that they hate us. I, I feel like that in therapy, if I'm not getting yelled at, that I'm not doing my job. I feel like if my client's not mad at me at sometimes or has some anger towards me, that I'm a poor therapist. And that confrontation level that I do sometimes can screw me, but I pride myself on it sometimes. It's just learning the balance and being okay with understanding that when you push extremes, you may push too far or not enough. So if you push too far, you have to learn how to compensate and not push as far the next time so you keep balance. It doesn't mean that one scenario always has to be balanced, but when you look at a period of your life through this transition, through this change of direction, or just where we're trying to figure out the direction, you have to understand that we will push people away and we need to also find ways to pull them close. And I think that the hardest but best way to tell somebody is to sit down with them and just tell them that I'm fucking up because I'm scared. And I don't know what to do because I'm scared because I feel like I shouldn't be here. I never thought I'd be here, and that's why I'm scared because my body didn't physically prepare for this point in my life. But now that I'm here, I need to live it. This is the things that we are terrified of. And these are the things that stop us from making appointments for orientation, job interviews, applying, texting, calling, telling, asking, anything. We freeze. Everyone looks at us as being angry, hateful, irritable, bitchy. It's just sad. And the only way that we can stop the pain is by being the cause sometimes of what pushes us away. So if I piss you off at me and you're mad at me, it's because I know why. Because when you're mad at me and I don't know why, that hurts more than anything in the world. When you're saying these things and I don't know why, that's what's killing me. And I think that is the direction in life that I fear most. And I think we need to tell people that. Because if we didn't, then we're sitting where we were the whole time with a bottle, a blunt, a cigarette, a jewel, or something worse in our hand. That's where we are. That's why we make those choices to follow a path and a direction. Real quickly, back to support. When you're on a path and direction, what I mean by trust your supports is if a lot of your supports are telling you something, sit and process it with someone. Something's off. You got to find a pattern. And if you're seeing patterns with what people are telling you, you got to kind of look at what's going on with that because something important is kind of going on. I think in life, when we find patterns and we see things, we get scared because the people that love us are the people that hurt us. The people are rocks. You ever drop a rock on your hand? That shit hurts. You ever get hit in the head with a rock? That shit hurts. So, our supports and our rocks, those are the ones we're scared of losing. We have to understand that that hurts. We have to get them to understand that hurts. I worked with a kid that is leaving and destroyed the relationship with family and friends while they were getting ready to leave because they were scared. Yeah, they were moving far, quarter away across the country. A little bit more than a quarter away country, I would say, actually. It's a quarter of the way across the country puts you in like Louisville, so more than a quarter of the way across the country. But at times would just push certain people away. By the time that individual wound up on the opposite coast from where they are, they were a different person. You know, it started as just a little trip, went to a relocation, and you know what? Like maybe it works for them, maybe it didn't work for them in Cali, but like respect, you know what I mean? If you hear this, hit me up. Um, different directions for different people. When you take those directions, you tell people the directions you take, you don't lose those rocks because although sometimes it's anchors that hold us in places, sometimes when we're in a different place, different time, you're glad you had that stone at least somewhere. Another thing with directions that we should probably chat about is how it's scary to make choices for the directions. Like when we decide we're going to live and not die after high school, we make that change in our life to go a different direction. Like, how do we make it so we don't freak the fuck out when we make that choice? That's a good question. And I think when we make those choices and actions, I think that's when we understand that our anxiety shoots up, our depression shoots up, our suicidal thoughts shoot up, our substance use shoot up, our self harm shoots up, our impulsivity shoots up, our promiscuity shoots up, our risk level of behavior shoots up. Everything, everything. Because we're scared again. Because we just made a choice that may or may not impact our entire life. But what I want everybody to understand is these major choices that we're putting so much weight to at young ages, and even in adulthood, they can be fixed and changed. The only thing that you cannot change is if you hurt or kill somebody to the point that they're not around. Because it's really hard to bring somebody back. Not even the genie from Aladdin can bring somebody back. So balance is important and key. Because when we make a choice, whether I remember when I was in my last towards the end of grad school, they were opening up a new program, and there was pros and cons, but I stuck with the program I did because honestly, it was an easier graduation piece. So I just did that because honestly, I'm not somebody that's going to sit and write papers. These things that I do off the top of my head. This is not like a pre-sketched discussion I'm having. So imagine me doing some crazy stuff like that. I just want it to be done. I wanted to share what I know, not write it. And I think I should have found better balance in that. I think I'd be a better writer right now, but that's okay because I'm working on it now in life. And by the time I get older, I will have balance. I have been working on reading. I am working on taking courses, stuff. Coming doing some hypnosis courses soon, so I could do a video about all that stuff soon. I'm trying to find those changes in life where I find balance and stuff like that because I realized that at 37 years old, I could still make choices that change direction in life. Me and my wife could sit down and decide to move to a completely different part of the town, the city, the state, the country, the world. We can make those choices. Does that mean that my sister's not my sister or my mother's not my mother? No, not at all. Just means my mother's my mother and she lives there and I live here. Or it means that I have to call in the morning because it's nighttime if I'm on the other side of the world. That's what changes. Those are the choices we make, though, for our benefit, though, because sometimes it is more beneficial to make those choices. For the person that moved out to Cali and stuff like that, like, yeah, like they had some stuff to do. They made some moves. And you know what? Like, they ain't doing that bad. Like I said, respect. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that they forgot about me or I forgot about that person. It just means that they got to do them. So respect. I think with direction in life though too, when my direction may be different from somebody else's direction, I think that somebody may take that as a shot at them or vice versa. If their direction is different than your own, do you feel like you're taking shots at them or you're taking shots at you? Like who knows? But we feel attacked. Because again, if our rocks are doing something different than we thought they were going to do, we get scared. So when we make that choice and it's different from them, we fight, we scream, we cry, we run, we hide. Last part about it, directions and stuff in this transition period that I wanted to talk about is the hiding aspect. A lot of times when people refer to hiding with transitional life stages, we're not talking about literally staying in a different location. Okay, so when I was going to college, I was scared to death and I told nobody. When people I know went to college, yeah, there's excitement. They're scared too, and they tell nobody. And you know what you're doing? You're hiding. You're not telling the truth. You're hiding your emotions. You're hiding your thoughts and your feelings. And I think the one thing, especially anybody I ever worked with that I tell you is do not hide that stuff. Share it. Because the more you share, the more you get help. And I think that people got to work on sharing more. That is what hiding is. It's the fact that we know you're going through certain phases in life and that you're refusing to admit what's really going on. And rather than working on it in a rational setting, you're kind of maybe not worrying about addressing it or trying to address it in clumps. So I think when we work on like not hiding from people moving forward, I think we really got to work on like just not hiding our feelings, not hiding our thoughts and share. Listen, the older you get, the more is expected from you as far as content and thought. From a little kid, if you ask them how they're doing, fine is okay. But honestly, the older you get, people actually want to hear, how are you doing? Well, I'm struggling because I'm trying to get a job, but I just graduated from college with this degree and I feel like nobody's hiring and it sucks. Yeah, man. Trust me, I've been there too. Yo, like honestly, it took me over a year to get a job that I felt was more along my lines for what I wanted to do. I didn't get an actual job when I worked at a residential company until May of 1 year after I graduated undergrad. And I liked the job I did before it at the school, but that was not what I wanted to do. They even offered me at the time a special ed teaching thing. They were talking about giving it out, and I just was not interested in doing anything along those lines for teaching. It's just not my thing. Too much paperwork, too much, like, no. And I made a change and I made a choice. I did a different direction. But you know what? I, I got and I did this, I did that, and I tried this and I tried that and I tried everything. I mean, I'm in private practice right now. I mean, I've worked in almost every setting I could think of as far as level of care. I've worked in residential, I've worked in inpatient as an intern, I've worked in a hospital, I've worked in a partial and IOP, I did CD groups, I did crisis intervention, I did BA, I did in-home therapy. I've done group therapy, family therapy, individual therapy, couples therapy, relationship therapy. Um, you know, you have to try everything in it because you're not going to know where what you really listen. I miss groups. That's what I miss. Right now, I would love to be running groups. I miss that type of therapy. So I'm going to make choices in the future that allow me to do groups somehow. I didn't figure that out yet. That's still a work in progress. That's a space issue. That's a technicality I got to figure out. But that's the reality because guess what? Like I made a choice to do private practice and I'm doing something different now, okay? So I think one of the last parts we have to discuss is how we handle this moving forward. Just take time for yourself, by yourself, and just process things. Write down your list, set up schedules, set up things to do so you know what activities have to get done and what can be delayed and what you have space with. It's not the worst thing in the world to bang out one thing here, one thing there, one thing here, one thing there. And depending on what area of your life, you may have to do two, but you're not going to know what you need to do until you start making lists and just take one thing at a time. And I think that that's what would start making people feel more comfortable as they transitioning is by doing one thing at a time, but they have to see what they need to do so they could see the progress. This is an area in life when people transition may change for directions that they don't know how to judge progress. Progress is small little steps. A degree is accumulation of I don't know how many classes, five a semester on average, four, so that's 20, 40 classes maybe, 60, I don't know how many classes, 40 classes maybe. That's the accumulation of a degree. That's a lot of progress because that is multiple papers, essays, that, chapters, reading, all that stuff. That's the progress. So by making lists and starting to structure yourself is one of the first steps you'll get to feeling better about the directions you're taking in life. And once you start seeing that checklist go down and down and down and down, then you really realize how much progress you've made. Because progress is really hard to gauge. It really is. And sometimes when you have somebody that's a third party that's not looking at your life, they're able to pinpoint what you do. Passing a semester is multiple accomplishments altogether when it comes to emotional, physical, social health, doing activities, completing assignments, getting laundry done is a major accomplishment to a college student. Maybe for a parent, not as much. But to a kid, it's unrealistic because they don't know it. So you have to start gauging what progress is and accomplishments so that as you're transitioning through these life phases, you could actually see the results that you're doing. And you know what? Honestly, you really do feel better about yourself. All right, everybody, like, subscribe, do all that cool shit, and follow me, future. And I'm trying to put this on some other stuff. So we'll see how I can transfer this onto some podcasts. Thanks, everybody.